looking ahead to match week 2 in the Championship. The turnaround is always very, very quickly in the Championship, and in no time we'll already be looking properly at them fixtures. So we're going to be giving my early thoughts on the games ahead of game week 2. We've got some cracking fixtures in there. I'm talking about the team's current situations in terms of transfers and in terms of how teams are looking right now into the Championship season, because some teams are in an absolute mess. Some teams are looking in a really, really nice position right now. If you go on to enjoy the video, please do drop a like down below. And if you're a fan of any club in the Championship and you're a fan of Championship content, this is the place to be this season. Do hit that subscribe button. Only takes 1 second. As I say, if you're a Championship fan, do hit that subscribe button. This is the place to be. Drop a like if you enjoy, hype the video, and let's jump straight into my early thoughts on the next game week. So as I say, next week, standout fixtures, we have got some absolute crackers in there. I mean, Millwall versus Norwich will be an entertaining one. Millwall and Norwich, both teams that are predicted to be right up there come the end of the season, at least in the playoff mix, really, at bare minimum for both of these teams. And then, as well as that, you go on to the 3 p.m. kickoffs, where you've got Southampton versus Stoke, which I think will be a very, very interesting game as well. West Ham versus Charlton, a London derby. Swansea versus Sheffield United. I mean, they're all crackers in the Championship. And then going on to Sunday, we have one fixture on the Sunday with West Brom versus Burnley. Burnley playing both of their matches so far in the Championship on the Sunday. So we'll jump straight in to Saturday's fixtures. No Friday night kickoff in the Championship, unfortunately. Of course, the Premier League is back on as a Friday night Premier League game. But we've got the 3:12:30 kickoffs where we've got Birmingham City versus Bristol City. And I want to start by talking about Bristol City because, I mean, I don't really know what's going on with them. I mean, obviously a loss against Walsall and then a poor performance against Mill. Of course, they had a red card, which didn't help Miranda getting sent off, which isn't ideal. And I mean, Bristol City in the transfer market in terms of what they've done, on paper, looks pretty decent to me. I mean, you look, they brought in the two top goal scorers last season in League One in Don Ballard and Tola. And we've seen players, be kind of hit or miss when they go up from the League One to the Championship. It is a very big step up. But I do expect these players to come good eventually. At least one of them, you'd hope, can hit the ground running and start to bag some goals. Tola looked good in pre-season, so they'll be hoping he can get himself a goal. I think either one of those two players or both of them need to get themselves on the score sheet. When you sign for a new club and you've gone up a division, you want to get that goal just to get you a little bit of confidence. And Bristol City haven't been too great so far in the season. I mean, Sam Tickle's another very good signing that they brought in goal. And a lot of people expecting pretty decent things from Bristol City this season. And so far, not great in the slightest. 2-0 loss and a 1-0 loss in the Carabao Cup. They'll be hoping that they can bounce back in a game against Birmingham City, where it'll be a difficult game for them, there's no doubt. Going to St Andrews, Birmingham has always been and always will be a tough place to go, especially with how things are right now at Birmingham City. I mean, they got themselves a decent point, Birmingham, away at Sheffield United. I do think they need a little bit more firepower going forward, and that game proved that they need a few more transfers still in the attacking area. I mean, Paik in the number 10 row, I feel like, they need someone with a little bit more creativity in there. Stansfield out on the left, I'm not so sure. Obviously, Prisk's been given that number 9, although he is the number 9 and the main number 9 for Birmingham, we expect. And we need a little bit more creativity from them in this game. I think it was a solid away performance away at Sheffield United. And Birmingham will be looking that they can build on that. And if they can get themselves a win at home and be a little bit more solid defensively, a little bit more physical away from home and pick up a few more points away, then they'll be right in the mix of the playoffs come the end of the season. I think John Solis had a really good game against Sheffield United. And he's a player that I think will build and get better as time goes on. Still only 21 years old. He's a player that could be a real talisman for Birmingham in terms of in the middle of the park. Solid at the back as well. Clara Newman. They've been pretty decent defensively in the game so far. Birmingham yet to concede a goal actually in a competitive game this season. So solid defensively, but it is the main thing with Birmingham. A little bit of creativity in the Chris Davis and that side. Needs to create a few more chances. Needs to be a bit more free flowing in terms of their creativity. Right, on to the other early kickoffs that we've got. We've got Lincoln and Portsmouth. Lincoln will be thinking this is an opportunity right here to go ahead and bag themselves their first 3 points and get themselves their first points in the Championship. Of course, a valiant effort against Middlesbrough, and just losing the game in the last minute is heartbreaking. But it's a kind of I guess a welcome to the Championship in terms of the fact that it's a brutal league, and probably in League One, as I said before, you can get away with that stuff. You might be able to hold out for a 1-0 win or hold out for a 1-1 draw. The other team don't have that creativity or a moment of magic, which Riley McGree kind of had for Lancashire's goal. And they'll be hoping against Portsmouth. It's a great opportunity to get 3 points. Portsmouth, to be honest, against QPR, I thought they were decent for the first 30 minutes or so, but then from then onwards, it was QPR that was the dominant team in the match. I mean, Portsmouth did have a few chances. They created quite a bit in the game, and probably could have had another goal. But I do think once we got the first goal, Portsmouth kind of fell apart. Then in the Championship, you can't be falling apart like that, conceding 3 goals in 12 minutes and expect to get anything from games. So against Lincoln, Portsmouth will want to bounce back, want to be solid, and Lincoln will fancy their chances, I feel, to get themselves some points in this game. As I say, Millwall versus Norwich, I think will be an absolute cracker. I'm not actually sure which game is the main event on Sky. I think it's Sky, that was Sky Sports Plus, so I'm shocked they've not put that one as the main event, to be honest, because I mean, that is a quality game with Millwall versus Norwich. Norwich, I mean, they'll count themselves unlucky realistically in that game against West Brom. They created a whole load of chances, but if you're not going to take your chances, you will get punished in the Championship. And I'm sure, it's nothing to worry about for Norwich. We've seen how good they've been under Clement, and I'm sure they're going to be very good this season. Obviously, just an off day in terms of finishing. Chance creation was still very much there. And Norwich are such an entertaining team to watch. But up against Millwall, we know what Millwall are about. Such a solid Championship team. And as well as that, the Alex Neil in charge, he's really got that side well drilled. And if they can have a player like Josh Coburn who can step up more this season, they've got a player there that could potentially have a real breakout season in the Championship and really stamp his authority on the league and get himself a big goal tally in a season. Obviously, still got Aziz as well. A lot of quality in that Millwall side, and as I say, very well drilled side under Alex Neil. It'll be an interesting one that way. I mean, Millwall. I mean, if Millwall can get themselves a result in that, Norwich could be 2 losses from 2, which is absolutely crazy given the fact that a lot of people are obviously predicting them to be right up there come the end of the season, which I still think they absolutely will be. Middlesbrough versus Blackburn. Obviously, Blackburn's very much a surprise package of the weekend, putting in a really good performance and deserving to win against Wolves. Obviously, very disappointed Blackburn. I know they conceded a lot of late goals than they did last season, and they've gone ahead and done that again in the new season, conceding the penalty. Obviously, it was a bit debatable penalty, but really good performance overall from Blackburn, which will give them massive confidence going into the games going forward. And I think they proved a lot of people wrong in that game that they're not going to be some pushover this season. And, 2 goals as well. I think that was a really good performance, but against Middlesbrough, it will be a tough game. But Middlesbrough, they are beatable, Middlesbrough under Kim Hellberg. Obviously, in the first half, they weren't great against Lincoln. Second half, they really turned it on. And Will Lancashire stepping up with 2 goals. Those are strikers' goals right there. Just tap-ins, you have to be in the right place at the right time. And the best strikers always scored them type of goals where they're just in amongst it and they just pop up in the right place to get the goal. And Middlesbrough probably wouldn't have got the 3 points last season against Lincoln, or they definitely wouldn't have. Now they've signed a striker, they've kind of got that a different dimension now, and you think now they can really push on this season. They'll be, if they want to be up there come the end of the season, realistically, home or away against Blackburn, if you're Middlesbrough, you absolutely have to be going ahead and getting 3 points in a game like that, or at least getting 1 point bare minimum. But you need to be going there and winning that if you want them to be, a contender for automatic promotion come the end of the season. Derby are not looking in an ideal situation right now. Obviously, Cardiff haven't played yet at the time of recording this, but Derby not in a great place right now. I mean, in terms of they don't have any in terms of wingers, they don't have anybody who play wingers. Obviously, they're playing a 5, but they don't have anybody in terms of going forward that can really create outside of a Sammy Schmodics or someone that, you need a bit of pace, I feel like, in that side. Because, I mean, I'm looking at that and it's a pretty, a few experienced heads in there, the likes of Charlie Taylor, Force. I think they need a little bit more creativity, a little bit more drive in the side. I think they definitely need to bring themselves in a player who can create and someone as well as that who can run in that kind of attacking area and attacking that final third of the pitch. And Derby will probably get something done come the end of next week, you would hope anyway. Disappointing to lose the game against Charlton. Obviously, Schmodic scoring a nice goal. Heard that he maybe picked up an injury. I'll have to see if he's fit. If he's out, then I actually worry if it's Derby County side. Because I think Schmodic will step up this season and score a few goals for Derby. And hopefully he can get back to the form that he had at Blackburn. And Cardiff, obviously haven't watched them yet, but I think things are looking quite good at Cardiff in terms of the vibe around Cardiff City so far, in terms of the pre-season, and as well as that in terms of obviously getting promoted from League One last season. Were really entertaining to watch. Obviously had a load of players that got a whole load of goal contributions last season, and you got a player like Stelach there I think will do very well this season. So I think Cardiff will do absolutely fine this season, have a decent enough season back in the Championship. And Derby will want to get 3 points in that game. You don't want to start the season with 2 losses out of 2 against, Charlton, who are predicted to be down at the bottom, and as well as that against Cardiff, who are a newly promoted side. You need to be getting at least something on the board. Preston, I mean, they turned it around in the game against Bolton in terms of their performance after the last 30 minutes, 20 minutes were decent in that game. I mean, overall, though, against Bolton, that first half was absolutely diabolical. And to be honest, right, Preston, I know, have pulled off a few scalps in their time in terms of beating some of the teams that got relegated from the Premier League in the past. And I think at Deepdale, they'll 100% fancy their chances against Wolves, and they'll 100% fancy their chances at bouncing back in the game. Obviously, Wolves really disappointing in the opening game of the season against Blackburn, and they'll need to step up. Otherwise, the Wolves fans I can see turning pretty quickly on this side. And as I say, I think after that performance in the first game, I feel like, they need to go into the transfer market, and it proved that. They need to go back into the transfer market, and they need to invest in a few players in a few different positions, in my opinion. I think centre half is definitely a position they could do with strengthening. And as well as that, bolstering the squad in general. Obviously, Jordan Jones has been linked for a little while. They need to do something. They need to give them a lift as well, and give Wolves, belief in terms of, actually going ahead and getting themselves in that automatic promotion race and in that promotion race this season. Right, on to the next game now, where we've got QPR versus Bolton. And both sides getting off to a winning start. QPR, obviously my team, really, really impressive in the first game. A disastrous first 30 minutes where I thought we looked well off the pace. Ronnie Edwards looked so out of place in midfield for the first 30. We managed to recover it, to be fair, and we were really good second half. We controlled the game, I think, quite well. To be honest, obviously we still, conceded a few chances. But overall, it was a very decent performance, and I'm very, very satisfied with that. Good to get Ilias Chair with 2 goals as well to start off the season. Massive for him. He needs to have a big season. Obviously had an injury hit season last season, so hopefully he can get himself into more goal-scoring positions like he did. He's something that, with Chair, I feel like needs to get himself in the box a little bit more, and he did that twice and got himself into some dangerous situations and managed to get 2 goals and had another 1 or 2 chances as well where he could have even had a hat-trick, which is mental. So really impressed with Ilias Chair in that number 10 role. Big for Sato getting himself a goal. Poku putting a good performance as well. Vale is always a very good player as well. He's been very good for us last season. And we've got a lot of depth in our side this season. I feel like with the players that came on were very decent. Obviously, Madsen was out injured as well. Kone didn't even come on. We had multiple options from the bench where we looked pretty decent. And this squad does look good. And on paper, we do look pretty good. Obviously, football is not played on paper. And people list us as dark horses every season. But it's looking pretty good so far. And the squad looks good. And I'm obviously looking forward to things going forward. Heading on to Bolton, they were really impressive in the opening game of the season against Preston. Gale was really good in that match, cutting inside, scoring a really nice goal, almost got himself another one as well. Bolton were decent enough at the back as well. Obviously, towards the end of the game, Preston really started to pile the pressure on, and they conceded a few chances, Bolton did. But they managed to hold out, and a massive 3 points for them kind of takes the pressure off early, got the 3 points on the board. And they'll come to QPR, they'll probably think a point's a great result in this game. I'd imagine, if they get themselves keep ticking along, keep getting points, that'll be a very, very good result for them. And who knows, away from home, they can definitely do us on the counter attack if they can remain solid. I feel like we're definitely concede a lot of chance. We're not the most solid defensively, so I think Bolton will fancy their chances on the counter attack, and it wouldn't surprise me if they went ahead and bagged another result and got themselves at least another point on the board in the Championship season. Southampton versus Stoke. I've not spoken about Southampton's performance against Watford, which was diabolical, to be honest. I mean, second half, they absolutely turned it around, to be fair, and they should have got themselves a goal. I mean, Howard Bells had a golden opportunity in the last minute, and they should have got themselves a point in the end. But the first half performance, Watford were absolutely incredible, and Southampton just weren't at the races in the slightest. I mean, Stevens, what on earth was that guy doing? Starting Stevens in the big 2026 is absolutely wild to me that he's actually starting that game, to be honest. I mean, I'm not a fan of Stevens at all, and that was beyond hospital for Watford's goal from Bravo. Absolutely crazy stuff. But Southampton will look to bounce back. I don't think it's too much to be concerned about. I mean, Southampton were poor in the first half in the Carabao Cup game as well against Colchester. So they need to start the game better against Stoke, which I'm sure, to be honest, I think they will be able to bag themselves a result against Stoke. I think Stoke, obviously, against Swansea were pretty poor overall, didn't create a whole lot in the game, scored early on, and Swansea then went on to take charge and win the game, and Stoke had a bit of pressure on towards the end. But Stoke, I'm not too sure on Mark Robinson, I'm not too sure on the team so far. Obviously, Sorba Thomas is a good player, and on paper there are a few really good players, but I'm just not sure on Stoke, and I feel like Southampton will really have pressure on them to bounce back, and I feel like they will. Obviously, minus 4 points, they're already starting, quite far behind everybody else. It's already 7 points off the top of the league, which isn't ideal in the slightest. Swansea City versus Sheffield United. Swansea, I think, could have a really good season this season, to be fair. I think they've got a lot to be positive about. Rapotnik will have to see what happens to him if he ends up leaving. Obviously, Swansea have some decent options up top. Adam Edel came off the bench and scored in the first game. Obviously, Ross Stewart's injured, but when he gets back, Ross Stewart's always injured, it feels like. I think keep him fit, you've got a very, very good Championship striker right there. I know Elijah Just, I'm sure he will come good. Apoku as well, getting himself a goal was absolutely massive for him, and they've got themselves a decent overall squad, Swansea, and I think they could be in for a decent season, to be honest, and obviously a good side in possession of the ball, and got some real quality in their side that can hurt teams. Sheffield United were definitely underwhelming in their opening game of the season, and they need more reinforcements 100%. I mean, Tom Cannon, I didn't speak about him in another video, but I don't even know what this guy's doing, to be honest, right now. He has been diabolical since he signed for Sheffield United. He just goes through games. You don't see him at all. And I'm looking at him thinking, give us a little bit more, and he just never seems to give that extra bit, and it's very, very frustrating to watch for Sheffield United. I think he actually got booed off from the Sheffield United fans, which isn't great at all. Patrick Bamford was very, very quiet in the game against Birmingham. Had one chance. I'm sure Bamford will come good. But I think this will be a tough game for Sheffield United. I think it'll be a close game. And I think, obviously, Sheffield United, I think they need to go into the market. They need to invest a little bit more in a few areas Sheffield United do come the start. And obviously, Hamer's gone, and they need some more creativity in that side to kind of replace Hamer. And we'll see if they go ahead and actually get it done. And you would hope so as a Sheffield United fan. West Ham versus Charlton. Obviously, West Ham bottling a 2-goal lead in the opening game against Burnley. And Charlton are always a tricky customer, turning the game around against Derby and getting themselves 3 points to start off the season. This will not be an easy game for West Ham. It really won't. West Ham need to go into the transfer market. Their depth, to be honest, just isn't at the level of what it needs to be for a side that should be challenging for top of the table. Obviously, it's a good start in 11. Obviously, they need Engels in that team 100%. Kante's a player that's definitely one to watch. Don't know what happened with Pablo. I don't know if he got injured or not. I don't know why Nuno made the substitution. He must have been injured because surely, changing formation was absolutely wild in that game against Burnley. Jared Bowen was pretty quiet, to be fair. He needs to step up this season. I'm sure he absolutely will do. And against Charlton, you would hope West Ham at home would have the quality to go ahead and beat them. But as I say, Charlton are a very tricky customer, and you can't absolutely guarantee that, the West Ham are going to just walk all over them, because the Championship, we know, is just not that simple at the end of the day. Wrexham up against Watford, where Watford, really spirited performance. I was very impressed with Watford in terms of their first half performance. Very, very good going forward, looked very dangerous and looked like a top Championship team, to be honest. In second half, yes, they had their backs against the walls and it wasn't great, it wasn't pretty, but doesn't need to be pretty when you're up against a team like Southampton. They got the job done. I thought the atmosphere, by the way, at Vicarage Road was fantastic. The manager was giving off some fantastic energy as well after the game and as well during the game. And the squad seemed really together, to be honest. I was very surprised with Watford and pleasantly surprised. And I predicted them to finish higher than most people did, because I think if people put Watford right down at the bottom, I don't think they will, but they've got quality in that squad. You look at some of them players in that attacking line that were really impressive, and they could do all right this season. Watford could. Wrexham obviously not played yet, had a pre-season where they played against so many different Premier League teams, and lost against Middlesbrough in the opening game in the Carabao Cup game. Phil Parker said it was more of a pre-season game. He did treat it like. Wrexham will be decent this season, I'm sure, and they'll fancy their chances up against Watford at home at the racecourse. So I do think Wrexham will be able to get themselves a result in that game personally. But as I say, nothing's given in the Championship, and Wrexham do play against Cardiff, so it'll be interesting to see how they go ahead and get on. And the final game of game week 2 is... Oh, I've not actually missed it. It's the next one. There we go. We've got West Brom versus Burnley. West Brom have very much impressed me. Had a really nice pre-season, got a lot of positive results in pre-season, looked good in the Carabao Cup, and a spirited performance against Norwich. They definitely rode their luck, but you're going to have to when you play a team like Norwich. And by riding their luck, literally their striker scored from a handball. Hegabo did. Jimmy J. Morgan looks like a real talent this season. Looking forward to seeing how he develops over the course of the season. And they worked very, very hard, West Brom did, and really impressive so far. So it's been a very good start. You can't complain at all if you're a West Brom fan so far. And up against Burnley, you'd probably fancy your chance in this game. Now, Burnley, to be fair, I actually think their team isn't that bad. I was kind of I predicted them to finish 12th and then thought their team wasn't great. And I've actually looked at their team, looked at their substitutions in this game. They had some decent options off the bench. Amdouni, Laurent, Broja, if he stays fit, could be decent. It could be very decent in the Championship. They've also signed Max Aline as well, which I think is a very good piece of business. Add a couple more players to that Burnley side, and they've got themselves a decent Championship side. And the main thing with Burnley is if they can keep hold of Zane Fleming, because he's been the guy so far for Burnley. Scored a goal in Carabao Cup, scored 2 in the league and pulled them out. Obviously had a lot of chances. He had 9 shots. I said it on my video with West Ham the other day. he had more shots than he had one less shot than he did passes. Like the guy was just shooting for fun. And if he can perform this season in the Championship and like he has in the first few games and like he did in the Premier League where he was very, very good, you could be looking at a striker there and a potential Golden Boot winner. So that'll be a very entertaining game to finish things off. So let me know what you think. That's just my early thoughts going ahead into the next game on all of the Championship teams. So let me know what you think. I'll have my predictions out later on in the week, so do stay tuned for that. Please do subscribe as well if you've watched this point. If you wouldn't mind hitting the subscribe button, it only takes 1 second. As I say, if you've watched this point, you may as well hit it. If you like Championship content, if you support any team in the Championship, you may as well hit that subscribe button. Also, as well, if you agree with anything what I said, or if you're excited for the next Championship weekend, please do hype the video as well. It goes a long way for me. If you wouldn't mind hyping it, that would be greatly appreciated. It only takes 1 second as well. So I say please do like, comment and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.